Money is not just numbers on a screen. For most people, it is wrapped in silence, shame, and fear. We hesitate to speak about it, not because it is unimportant, but because it is deeply emotional. Whether it is with a partner, a parent, a boss, or even with ourselves, conversations about money often carry the weight of our self-worth. We are afraid of being judged, misunderstood, or exposed. From a young age, many of us were taught that money is either too personal or too painful to discuss. Maybe you grew up hearing things like, "We have just enough," or "We cannot afford that." Maybe you watched your parents argue about bills, or perhaps you felt embarrassed because your clothes were not like the other kids. And over time, those early experiences formed beliefs. Beliefs that told you money was stressful, or that wealth was only for certain people. Those beliefs still live in your nervous system. They whisper whenever the topic of finances comes up. So we stay quiet. We swipe the card. We avoid the bank app. We pretend everything is fine. And inside, we carry the anxiety. The truth is, most people are not struggling because they are lazy or irresponsible. They are struggling because they have never been taught how to think about money in a healthy way. There is a reason financial stress is one of the leading causes of anxiety, depression, and even divorce. It is not because money is evil. It is because we never learned how to relate to it. We never learned to see it as a tool instead of a threat. But here is the good news. This struggle can be the beginning of something powerful. When you choose to look at money not as an enemy but as a mirror, you begin the process of healing. When you decide to speak openly, to learn, to reflect, and to take responsibility, you shift from being reactive to being in control. And it all starts by facing the silence. Ask yourself, how do I feel when money comes up? Do I tense up? Do I avoid it? Or do I lean in with curiosity and self-respect? If you want to build a life of true wealth, the first step is not to earn more. The first step is to remove the shame, because shame keeps you quiet, and silence is the enemy of transformation. Let this be the moment you choose something different. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are simply at a turning point. And from here, everything can change. There is a difference between being rich and being wealthy. One is visible, the other is invisible. One flashes, the other whispers. One demands attention, the other offers peace. Being rich is having a big house, a luxury car, designer clothes, and expensive vacations. It looks impressive. It feels powerful. But often, it comes with pressure, with debt, with constant performance. Being wealthy, on the other hand, is quiet. It is having passive income that covers your needs. It is freedom from the fear of bills. It is knowing that you can choose what you do with your time, not because you struck gold, but because you built a solid foundation. Scott Galloway shared the story of two men. One makes millions every year, but spends it all. Big house, big image, big pressure. He lives paycheck to paycheck, even at the top. The other man, his father, lives simply. A modest pension, a few coin-operated machines. He saves more than he spends. He sleeps peacefully. One is rich. The other is wealthy. So ask yourself, which one do you want to become? Chasing richness can trap you in a cycle of always needing more. You upgrade your lifestyle as fast as your income. You buy things to impress people who are not even paying attention. You live externally, but feel empty inside. Pursuing wealth is different. It requires patience, discipline, and intention. It asks you to live below your means, to invest in things that grow quietly, to say no when others say yes, and to trust that long-term peace is more valuable than short-term praise. We have been taught that success looks like consumption. But what if real success is calm? What if it is waking up without financial anxiety? What if it is having choices, not just things? This is your chance to redefine what wealth means to you. Maybe it is time freedom. Maybe it is being able to care for your parents. Maybe it is leaving a legacy not of money but of wisdom. Whatever your vision is, Let it be yours. Not what society expects, not what your friends chase. True wealth begins when you stop performing and start living with purpose. It is not about how much you make. It is about what you keep, what you build, and how you feel when you lay your head down at night. Wealth is not loud. It is steady, and it is always worth the wait. Before you learn how to manage money, you need to understand what you believe about it, because your beliefs become your behaviors, and your behaviors become your results. If deep down you believe that money is bad, or that rich people are greedy, or that wanting more makes you selfish, then no matter how much you earn, you will find ways to sabotage your own growth. You will overspend, avoid investing, or hold yourself back from opportunities that could elevate your life. Not because you lack intelligence, but because you carry internal blocks. Many of these beliefs are inherited. Maybe you grew up hearing things like, "We are not the kind of people who get rich," or "Money always runs out," or "If you want to be good, stay humble and simple." These ideas may have come from loving people, but they planted seeds of limitation. Lewis Howes spoke about this openly. Despite reaching hundreds of millions through his content, he was afraid to make money, afraid that success would make him a bad person. He carried the story that good people stay broke, that having money meant you hurt others, until he realized that those beliefs were not his truth. They were inherited patterns, and they were keeping him small. You cannot attract what you resent. You cannot hold what you feel guilty about. If money feels like a threat to your identity, you will always push it away. So today, pause and reflect. What did your parents teach you about money, not through words but through actions? What messages did you absorb as a child? And more importantly, do those beliefs still serve the person you are becoming? This is not about blame. It is about awareness. Once you see the script, you can rewrite it. You are allowed to earn well. You are allowed to build wealth. You are allowed to live a full and abundant life without losing your kindness or your values. The mindset of wealth begins by releasing the belief that you are unworthy of it. You cannot build a new life with an old identity, and that includes your financial life. If you still see yourself as the struggler, the underdog, the one who always falls behind, then even when money comes, you will find ways to lose it. Your financial identity is not just your income or your credit score. It is how you see yourself in relation to money. Do you see yourself as someone who is confident, capable, and in control? Or someone who is always surviving, always reacting, always barely making it? Changing your identity does not mean pretending. It means shifting the story. It means creating new habits, new thoughts, new language. It means saying things like, "I am learning to manage money," or "I am becoming someone who builds wealth," because words shape reality. One small practice can help you begin. Every time you receive money, whether it is your salary, a refund, a gift, or even a dollar found on the street, pause and say thank you. Not just with your mouth, but with your heart. Thank the money for showing up. Ask it where it wants to go. Into savings, into investments, into generosity. Begin a relationship with it. Then, when you spend, do the same. Thank the money as it leaves. Thank it for paying your phone bill, for buying your groceries, for keeping the lights on. This simple shift transforms money from a source of stress into a source of connection. Jaspreet Singh and Ken Honda both teach this practice. It may sound unusual, but it works. Because what you appreciate, appreciates. Gratitude is the first signal to your brain that you are not in lack. And when your nervous system feels safe, it stops panicking and starts planning. This is how you rewire. Not by waiting for millions to appear, but by treating every dollar with intention. By choosing identity over impulse. By remembering that every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. You do not need to fake it, you need to feel it. You need to embody the energy of someone who respects money, learns about money, and uses money to build a life of purpose. That is the beginning of transformation, not just financial but personal. Because money at its core is not just about wealth, it is about who you are when you hold it. Most people think the key to wealth is earning more. But the truth is, if you cannot manage a little, you will not manage a lot. It is not about how much you make, it is about how you live with what you have. Jim Rohn once said, "If you cannot live on 90% of your income, you will not be able to live on 1,000% either." That may sound harsh, but it is true. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about freedom. It is the quiet power that turns effort into progress. The Stoics believe that control over desire leads to peace. The same applies to money. You do not need to chase every temptation. You need to build a system. One simple practice is to divide your income into 4 parts. Use 70% for your basic living expenses. Take 10% and invest in your growth books, courses, experiences that elevate your mind. Use another 10% to invest in assets, things that work for you even when you are sleeping, and give away the final 10%. Yes, give. Because generosity creates a flow that opens unexpected doors. You may think, I can barely get by. How can I save? But the truth is, saving is not about surplus. It is about structure. When you pay yourself first, even a small amount, you build the foundation of wealth. When you give with intention, you tell your mind that you live in abundance, not scarcity. The point is not perfection. It is practice. Discipline is not natural. It is cultivated. And each time you resist the urge to overspend or delay saving, you cast a vote for the person you are becoming, someone who leads their financial life with wisdom, not emotion. So take a step. Set up an automatic transfer. Create a small emergency fund. Say no to one purchase this week and redirect it toward your future. Because every act of restraint today becomes a reward tomorrow. Live with less. Think with more. And let discipline become your greatest form of self-respect. You cannot win a game you refuse to learn. And money is a game. It has rules, strategies, risks, and rewards. But most people never read the manual. They avoid the topic, fear the numbers, and assume it is only for experts. But here is the truth. You do not need to be a financial genius to succeed. You need to be curious. You need to be consistent. And above all, you need to be willing to learn. Scott Galloway said something powerful. He spends 4 hours a week talking about money. Not spending it, not making it, talking about it. With mentors, with friends, with people who know more than him. Because conversation builds clarity, and clarity leads to confidence. If you want to improve your financial life, start by becoming financially literate. Read one book, watch one video, learn one term each week. What is compound interest? What is an ETF? What is a 1031 exchange? These may sound intimidating at first, but every expert was once a beginner. You are allowed to ask. You are allowed to not know. What you are not allowed to do, if you want to grow, is stay silent. Start having money conversations with people you trust. Share ideas. Ask questions. Remove the shame. You are not behind. You are just beginning. And there is no better time than now. Also, treat money like a skill. If you wanted to be good at tennis, would you never pick up a racket? If you wanted to be strong, would you avoid the gym? Of course not. So why do we avoid learning about the very thing we use every day? Money responds to attention. When you ignore it, it controls you. When you study it, you master it. Begin today. Learn the difference between saving and investing. Understand taxes. Study cash flow. Not to become obsessed, but to become aware. Because awareness is the first step to freedom. Financial growth is not reserved for the elite. It is reserved for the attentive. Most people think the only way to build wealth is through earning a paycheck. But the truth is, your skills are not just tools for employment. They can become assets, things that generate value, income, and freedom, even when you are not actively working. Cody Sanchez calls this turning expertise into equity. It means shifting your mindset from labor to leverage, from being someone who is paid for time to someone who builds something that works for them. It starts with a question. What do you know how to do that someone else would gladly pay for? It could be design, writing, organizing, planning, speaking, coaching, coding, or teaching. The value is already inside you. The key is knowing how to position it. Maybe you are not ready to start a company. That is okay. What you can do is find people with problems you can solve. Offer a solution. Offer to help. Offer to share the upside. Cody shared a powerful idea. If you help a small business grow their revenue by 50%, ask to keep 10% of what you help them gain. That is not a job. That is a partnership. That is ownership. And if you are not sure how to begin, start with small experiments. Volunteer your skills. Build a portfolio. Ask someone if you can intern for free for a few months. Not as charity, but as investment. Because what you gain in access, knowledge, and network can pay off more than any hourly wage. This is how entrepreneurs think. This is how people grow beyond their job description. Not by waiting for permission, but by creating opportunity. You do not need to be a founder. You need to be a builder. Build value. Build trust. Build a system where your skills do not end when the clock stops. Because the most powerful asset you have is not your bank account. It is your ability to turn ideas into outcomes. And when you start seeing yourself as a creator, not just a worker, everything begins to shift. We live in a world addicted to instant results. Get rich quick, lose weight fast, build a brand in 30 days. But the truth is, anything worth having takes time, especially when it comes to money. Jaspreet Singh explained it clearly. You do not need thousands of dollars to start building wealth. You need 25. You need 50. And you need to do it again and again, every time you get paid. It is not the amount that matters most. It is the consistency. Because consistency creates compound growth. And compound growth is quiet, patient, and unstoppable. Let us break it down. If you invest $100 every month in an index fund that returns an average of 7% annually, you will have over $100,000 in 30 years. That is not magic. That is math. And it works because of one thing: discipline over time. The challenge is not the math. The challenge is the mindset. Many people think, I only have a small amount, it is not worth it. Or they believe, I want money now, not in 30 years. But if you can train your mind to delay gratification, to trust the process, and to play the long game, you will win where others quit. This also applies to habits, not just financial ones, but mental ones. Checking your accounts weekly, reading one financial article per week, tracking your expenses, reflecting on your spending patterns. These small acts may feel boring, but they are how you become someone who is truly in control. Consistency is the opposite of chaos, and chaos is what keeps most people broke. They invest in bursts. They save when they remember. They panic when things go wrong. But those who build wealth do not rely on motivation. They rely on systems. So create one. Automate your savings. Set a calendar reminder to review your finances. Make it as normal as brushing your teeth. No drama, no delay. Because wealth is not built in a day. It is built in the days you stayed steady, even when no one else noticed. Be the person who stays steady, who shows up, who plays the long game, because time rewards those who do not rush. There is a moment in every journey when your focus shifts. At first, it is all about survival, paying bills, escaping debt, fixing what is broken. But once you find your footing, something new begins to awaken. A deeper question, a new energy. What am I here to give? Lewis Howes spoke about this shift. When he had nothing, sleeping on his sister's couch, no job, no degree, no direction, the only thing he could offer was his energy, his passion, his curiosity. So he used it. He asked people questions. He listened. He gave value before he had anything to gain. And that spirit built a life of impact, friendship, and abundance. Abundance does not begin with having more. It begins with thinking differently. When you believe you are limited, you hoard, you cling, you shut down. But when you believe you are connected, creative, and capable, you open, you give, you grow. Most people think, I have nothing to give. But that is not true. You have your time, your voice, your presence, your kindness. And when you offer those freely, without keeping score, the world begins to respond. People notice. Opportunities flow. Not always fast, but always in motion. And here is the paradox. The more you give, the richer you become. Not just in money, but in meaning. Because real wealth is not just measured in what you keep. It is measured in the value you create in the lives of others. So ask yourself, how can I be of service today? How can I use what I already have to lift someone else? How can I become someone who adds value, not just someone who takes? Because when you move from scarcity to service, you stop chasing, you start attracting, you stop surviving, you start leading. And that shift, quiet and internal, is what turns a life of pressure into a life of purpose. When people think of legacy, they often think of money left behind, an inheritance, a trust, a fund. But true legacy is not just about wealth. It is about wisdom. It is about the silent example you set, the habits you practice, the mindset you pass down. Jim Rohn once said, "Success is not what you get. It is who you become." And when you become someone who thinks long-term, who lives with discipline and grace, you change not only your life, but the lives of those who follow. Legacy is not built in speeches. It is built in quiet moments. When your children watch you manage your money with care. When your partner feels safe because of your planning. When you resist impulse and choose integrity. It is built when you teach others what you learn. When you tell the truth about your journey. When you show that wealth is not about perfection, but about progress. And perhaps most importantly, legacy is built when you take responsibility for your future, for your choices, for your story. You may think you do not have much to leave, but every time you model courage, every time you choose growth, every time you invest in your inner strength, you are leaving something powerful behind. So think ahead. What values do you want to live by? What systems do you want to teach? What kind of example do you want to be? Because at the end of your life, people may not remember the numbers in your bank account, but they will remember how you lived, how you handled challenges, how you made them feel, and how you led yourself. That is legacy. And you can start writing it today. You have walked through 10 powerful shifts, 10 new ways of thinking, 10 small doors that open to a much larger life. Not a life ruled by fear, but a life led by clarity, intention, purpose. Money is not the enemy. It is a mirror. It reflects who you are, how you think, and what you choose. And every day, you are writing your financial story not with your paycheck, but with your mindset. So, pause. Reflect. Where are you today? What do you believe about wealth? About yourself? About what is possible? Then, ask the question that changes everything. What is one small action I can take today? Maybe it is writing down your expenses. Maybe it is reading one chapter of a book. Maybe it is sending a message to someone who can teach you. Maybe it is finally saying, I am ready. Because wealth does not arrive like a lightning bolt. It is built one quiet moment at a time, one habit, one choice, one mindset. You are not too late. You are not too far behind. You are right on time. The blueprint is in your hands. The tools are already within you. And the most powerful investment you can ever make is the one you make in yourself. Start today.